Hey guys, it's Toby Morrison from CFS Health, helping people with chronic fatigue syndrome recovery and fibromyalgia recovery. So in today's video, I wanted to answer a really great question from one of our viewers, which is really revolved around the key traits of recovery, what separates some from others, and really what is the distinguishing factors in my experience that I've seen of people who recover or start to improve. And so the question is from Stacey Horn. Thanks, Stacey. She says, apart from early intervention and support, what are some key factors, characteristics, or behaviours that are shared among those who have recovered from ME/CFS? And this is a brilliant question because it's a proactive one and it's one with curiosity. And so I really appreciate it, and so I wanted to answer this. So I've written down a few things, and I just want to just share some empathy with you all, who, especially if you're struggling with this right now. I can really understand the severity of what you're going through and how hard it can be, and I also have the empathy to understand that you might not see the bright future ahead of you. You know, it might look really dark and dull, and it might look really hard. Or it might be really hard to see any kind of improvement or future ahead of you. And so I want to kind of talk about that, because it's really hard to know that it's possible, especially when you're feeling like crap. And that's an understatement. You know, if you're going through a chronic fatigue syndrome, what you're experiencing is basically a living nightmare. One that's exhausting, painful, and excruciating at times. So I just wanted to share that empathy with you and know that I understand what you're going through. But I also have seen the other side of chronic fatigue syndrome in terms of recovery and what it takes to get there, what it looks like, and what it has looked like for me, but also what it's looked like for thousands of other people. You know, I'm not the only person that's recovered. There's thousands of people around the world, tens of thousands of people who recover from chronic fatigue syndrome or are recovering from CFS or fibromyalgia. So we've got about 7 different, 7 with 2 hands, I've got a book here. I wrote some key notes here and I broke it down in priority because, again, take this with a grain of salt. There's not one size fits all with recovery, and as you know, there's no magic cure or magic bullet that helps you overcome chronic fatigue syndrome. And really, that's the starting point. The starting point is realizing that there is no magic cure. And this is why the first point is readiness. People that I know who have recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome or start to make improvement have a readiness about them. Readiness only comes from trial and error and trying lots of different things to get to the point of realization that it is up to them to make the biggest changes and shifts within themselves. I've never met anybody who recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome who didn't actually do the work themselves. Yes, they might have got help. Yes, they might have got outside support, but not one person ever said to me, it was just this one thing or this one doctor or this one person or this one program that fixed me. And that's a really powerful message to share. Like, that gem alone is so powerful to know. And, the process of readiness versus, basically looking outside of yourself for answers is the first point of call. And it's a journey. Like, I want you to realize it's not as easy as just flipping the switch. And, I know Stacey mentioned at the start, she said, apart from early intervention and support. Well, let me tell you, there's people who I've met who have suffered this illness for 20 plus years and then have recovered. So it's not a matter of just early intervention. Like, don't feel like you've lost, you've lost all hope because you've been suffering for longer than imagined or than most people have. Know that wherever you're at, the key is the readiness to realize that there is possibility for change. And so that's really the first point of call, is this process of readiness. Readiness, again, only comes from trying everything else outside of yourself is that search. I know you've probably been through it when you spend, I know some people spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars on different treatments outside of themselves for the supposed cure of chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. The problem with that is there's a heavy reliance on things outside of yourself, and when they're gone, you are left with just yourself. Now, again, it can be really useful for a lot of people, but it comes back to the practicality of, within the 24 hours that I have in every single day, what can I do within that? And it's hard because, you have a chronic illness or, you're sick, right? And so when you're sick, we're told to go to the doctors, and the doctor is supposed to fix us. It's supposed to give us a tablet, give us a pill, tell us what to do, and we'll do it, and we'll take it, and it'll be gone. The problem with chronic fatigue syndrome, it just doesn't work like that. It's a multifaceted illness which requires a multifaceted approach in terms of healing and recovery. And until the person realizes that and has that readiness and awareness about them to change, then change can occur. But until that point, it's very hard to make really steady progress. You might see some improvements, but usually it's back and forth, back and forth. So readiness versus stuckness and searching. That stuckness of just constantly trying lots of different things and not getting anywhere, coming from a place of desperation, which again, I understand how hard that is. I went through it myself. It's like you just want to get better. You want your life back so badly and so dearly. But the energy from where that's coming from, the stress that is coming from that place, is also perpetuating the problem. So does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Second point is self-responsibility, and I'll tell you a quick story. So when I was on my journey, we tried everything. We went to all these special doctors. In fact, we went to this one special doctor. He was kind of a wacky doctor, and sadly he's passed away now. He's an older guy called Frederick Warwick, and he kind of, he was the guy to cure chronic fatigue syndrome. That was like his thing, and so we were like, all right, this is good. And I saw him for 20 sessions and spent a lot of money, and I had a hope with him because he was older and he was wiser, and I thought, wow, this guy's going to fix me. And I'd had lots of setbacks in the past, and after 20 sessions, I didn't really feel much different. I maybe felt a bit better, probably from the hope and just from having something to look forward to each week to go and see him, despite it being hard. And on the 20th session, he said, all right, you're cured, my boy. You don't have chronic fatigue syndrome anymore. And I thought, that's kind of weird. I don't feel much different. And I said, well, what do I do now? And he said, well, you can start running again and start moving forwards. And I was like, all right, cool. And so I put on my runners, hadn't ran for like 3 years straight, and I thought I'm just going to go for it. And so I ran. I lasted about 3 to 5 minutes, and I basically collapsed on the side of the street. And, then I had a prolonged setback, which kind of wiped me out for another 3 weeks, and I was back to square one. But it was that moment that I realized I had to be responsible for myself. It was that moment that I had to realize within myself that it was up to me to change me. I couldn't put I couldn't put my life and my own health and responsibility onto someone else, because no one could do it. But it was up to me to rebuild my health. It was up to me to rebuild my immune system, to rebuild my health and energy and stamina and strength and well-being. I couldn't rely on someone else outside of myself to do that. So self-responsibility is another thing that is a huge trait that I've seen and witnessed hundreds and hundreds of times from people who start to improve and start to really make progress within themselves, is that self-responsibility. Curiosity to try things differently. Famous doctor called Dr. Lionel Lubitz, who was actually my doctor many, many years ago when I was really severely sick. And he says, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And it is just brilliant. He even wrote a song about it, and he did it at a conference where we both spoke at. And he was like, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And basically, again, it's coming from that place, like, how are you going about things? Are you going about your recovery in a really stressed, desperate manner? Are you just trying things for a couple of weeks and then giving up? Are you trying too many things at once? Are you trying too hard? Yes, we can do the right things, but are we doing it in the right way? Okay. So it comes with that curiosity to try things differently. And that's why mentorship and guidance and accountability and support in the right environment can be so useful in flipping that around very quickly to enhance your recovery, which we can talk about later. I've written down here the basics. People who I see improve, and you know yourself, if you're in this and you've improved somewhat sometimes and you've gone backwards, or you've improved any area of your life, the basics matter. Sometimes we can get deep into the narrative and we can start searching down the wrong rabbit holes and we can end up getting nowhere. But when we get back to doing the basics, they work. And more often than not, we know what the basics are for us, what works for us, but it's about applying them and doing them. So the basics are really key too. And sometimes the basics are really simple in theory, but very hard and complex to apply. And again, it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know. And so again, as I go into this, it comes down to having a holistic approach and not having your eggs in one basket. And that's just common sense. Like, again, that goes back from that readiness and self-responsibility and curiosity to do things differently, not putting your responsibility on someone else, but also having a holistic approach in your recovery and in your life to know, 1, what you need help with, and 2, what you need to focus on right now, and 3, what you need to progress into moving forwards. And again, that can take some time to figure out. There's no linear approach with recovery. It's not like this straight line, up a mountain. It's quite a hard track to follow. It's up and down, But hopefully over a period of time, if we do the right things, we see a steady increment over a period of time, which builds sustainable progress, not just this quick, short, sharp pushing and crashing, which is so common in people who have chronic fatigue syndrome or fibro. Which brings back to going back to the basics, having a holistic approach and having action steps, like actually doing what you know. It's so easy to think we're doing it all right. Like the amount of people that have come to me and said, "Oh, but I'm doing everything that you talk about," and then we work together, and then they do things differently, and all of a sudden they have an increase in energy. They feel more relaxed, they feel calmer, they have more energy, they're doing things differently. So again, sometimes it's just that curiosity to maybe just do it a little bit differently. And the question that you can always ask yourself, and I know this is kind of going off topic, but I can't help myself with this, is asking yourself the question, is what I'm doing working for me? And if it is, then keep going. But if it's not, then it's probably a really good time to reflect and go, well, what do I need to change in order for it to start working for me? We've got here baby steps. And this is a real key component too. It's like you need to work within your current situation and circumstances. No point, trying to do more than you can or push yourself beyond your means or pretend that everything's fine. I've never found that be helpful for anybody. So again, baby steps, but action steps with those baby steps. Another big thing that I find it's really a key characteristic and factor is a moving forwards focus versus symptom focus. Again, I've never met any client who focused so heavily on their symptoms. Now, I'm not saying this is easy, who focused so heavily on their symptoms that actually really made progress and improved. We know for a fact that the more we worry, the more we stress out about our symptoms, it just perpetuates that cycle and it becomes a loop. And so it's about calming down your nervous system, it's about calming down the situation and circumstance, but then also having a moving forward focus despite how you're feeling or, despite it being so bad and not feeling so great, okay? So that's really important to have that focus. Every single person I know who has recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome, including myself, had a forwards focus. They never just sat there and go, why me? This is unfair. Oh, I feel so bad today. Maybe they had doubts and maybe they felt like giving up. And I know I did multiple times, hundreds of times, you feel like giving up. But at the end of the day, they still had a moving forwards focus. And we help people with that in our program. Really important. Again, baby steps, action steps. And then the three other things are awareness, which really ties into all these 7 key traits and characteristics. Awareness around, again, where am I at? What do I need help with? Take the action steps towards that. Start to move forwards with confidence and clarity, even despite the struggles. And then using your intuition to be in tune with yourself. And that kind of goes back to not pretending that you're fine or not pretending that you're better than you are. It's just working within where you're at, within your current situation and circumstances, so you can, one, lay a healthy foundation for where you're at and then build upon that. Does that make sense? If it does, hit the like button, just so I know that this is making sense. And the annoying part about this is this stuff is really kind of simple, but if you're anyone out there who is struggling with chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, you know that it's not that easy. It's not as simple as as doctors say to a lot of people, not all doctors, but a lot of doctors, I experience this myself. Think more positively, eat healthier, go for a walk, sleep better. It's like, are you kidding me? I can barely function throughout the day. My brain fog's terrible, my symptoms are through the roof. How much do I do? What do I do? What do I do when I don't feel good? What do I do when I feel really good? It's so much more complex than what it looks like on the outside. And that's why we have this practical program. That's why I help people. That's the whole reason why I started doing this 10 years ago after I recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome, because I wanted to give, and I still do, give people hope and a pathway, actual practical pathway to move forwards with your recovery, not just a few guidelines and saying, oh, here, go for a walk and think more positively, good luck. No, that's insulting. That useful either. It's not good information. We need practical, specific help depending on which stage of recovery you are at individually. And we need to, you or me or we need to identify that for yourself so you can start to make a plan from where you're at to where you want to go. Whether it's having more energy, increased stamina, being symptom-free and starting to progress forwards, reconditioning your body, being able to go to the shops or see your friends or socialize more, to be able to think clearly, to be able to sleep better, to have a better digestive system. These are just some of the things that we help people with just to move forwards from where they're at to where they want to be. I said intuition before, and that's all about tuning into where you're at, listening to your body, but also just doing what's right for you and what's appropriate for you. And again, this all ties back to one more thing, which is this kind of, and it's not a set in stone thing, but it's this kind of little bit of belief or hope that it's possible to improve where you're at. I think without that, it's very hard to even see anything positive moving forwards. Now, this is not a mindset thing in the context of, this is all in your mind. If you've followed me for long enough that, I believe that chronic fatigue syndrome is literally a physical neurological disease. Dis-ease, get that? Dis-ease in the body. However, we know for a fact that this does affect our mindset. It affects our mind state. It affects how we're feeling emotionally, because we can't do what we once were able to do with ease. So it's going to cause upset. It's going to cause grief. It's going to cause sadness. It's going to cause, why me, and this questioning and this kind of monkey mind. And so it's really important that, under the level, and when I speak to people, and sometimes it doesn't feel like much. Maybe you might believe 10% that maybe it's just a little bit possible to improve. That's better than none. And yeah, sometimes it's okay to feel like giving up and to have a week where you just don't do anything and you stop trying, because sometimes you need to do that and you're human. So, to kind of cap this off, it's a holistic approach. But as you can see, I hope if someone's watching this, I'd really love you to, if you're really good at this and you love doing this, feel free to write down the key traits in the comments that I mentioned to make it really clear. And maybe that will be a helpful reflection for you. And I also have the empathy. This may be really hard to hear if you're going through a hard stage right now. Like, I get that. And that's totally okay too. Like, take your time. You don't need to like fully flip this on its head and be like, all right, that's it. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to do everything. Like, pressure on yourself. You know, just focus with where you're at. Do what's appropriate and do what you can do in the meantime. And the last thing that I've really seen with all the people that I've helped recover from chronic fatigue syndrome, and including myself, is mentors, coaches, and guidance. Now, I wasn't lucky enough to have a step-by-step program to follow. I didn't have a physical plan. I didn't have a mental, emotional, support system and tools and strategies to help me step by step. But I did have mentors. I did have support from outside people. And that was a really, it was key. Like, without that, it would have been really, really hard, or harder than it was on my own. Now, I know for a fact that it would have taken me another, who knows how many years longer, if I didn't have any of that kind of help and support, because I would have had no hope, no belief, and then I wouldn't have taken any actions to help myself. It's not necessarily the hope and belief that's important, it's what the hope and belief does for you in terms of taking proactive action for your physical self. Does that make sense? So I hope that makes sense. So, we're so lucky now. It's 2020. We have brilliant resources all around the world. I know that's hard to understand, because I know, we've got people in 47 countries who come to us for help in our online recovery program, mentorship program. And because they come to us and say, we don't have any help in our country, well, it's the same in most countries. But to be fair, we're so lucky to have videos like these, and there's so many great YouTube channels now giving useful help. So it's just important to find people you resonate with, a positive environment that supports you and engages you and uplifts you. You do not need an environment that brings you down and actually makes you feel worse than you currently do, okay? So find your group, find your mentorship, find your help. Find a mentor, find a coach who can help you with where you're at and give you the awareness, the tools, and the ability to change. And sometimes it's like, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And the stuff that you might have learnt 3 years ago might be really relevant for you right now. So in my mind, the people that I've met who have recovered and the people who've done my program who have really gotten the most out of it and improved their lives are the ones that really seek the help, the ones that were really keen and proactive to really get the help. Now, it doesn't mean that change is easy, doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight, doesn't mean there's not going to be ups and downs, but there is a possibility to really improve your health and improve the quality of your life. And if that's, if that's not enough, I don't know what is. Like, at the end of the day, that's what everybody should be really aiming for. Just little improvements. It doesn't have to be big ones. I never met someone who was like, I'm going to get to here straight away. It was like, no, like I just want to get to here, or I'm just going to move the needle just a little bit. And over time, those little wins and those little progresses turn into big progresses, if that makes sense. So I hope this video really helps you. I hope it identifies some things within yourself that can reflect back with you and make those changes within yourself. And, again, like, take what I say with a grain of salt. If it resonates, I'm really glad we connected. If it doesn't resonate, I hope you can find some other resources online that serve you. If you're needing more help around this and you're looking for a really amazing community of people who are on their way to recovery and starting to improve, if you're looking for accountability and help every step of the way, if you're looking for a step-by-step plan on a holistic level covering all aspects of recovery, please look into our online recovery program and mentorship program. We have an amazing resource right now where we help people all around the world in this amazing community, and it just gives me great joy to be with helping these people and seeing the changes that they're creating in their lives. It's just phenomenal, mind blowing. You wouldn't know, And even some of these people in this program right now, like they don't even realize how far they've come. Like, and sometimes it's the outside perspective to see like, wow, actually, like, look what you're doing, look how far you've come. You know, so again, this is the short version, and even though this is quite a long video, this is the short version of this. There's so much more to go into, you know, just to give you an idea, like there's 25 hours worth of coaching videos just in our online recovery module program alone. That's not including our group conversations and our group accountability calls and question and answer sessions. So it's, again, I've just tried to simplify it into this quick video to answer this brilliant question. I would love to hear your takeaways from it. So please comment what was most useful for you if it was. And again, if you're looking for that extra help and that accountability and you want to join an amazing community and kind of help you with the trajectory of your recovery, I'll leave a link below where you can find out more information and see if it's a good fit for you, and we'll send you some details for it. All the best for now, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.